Okay.
So first thing is if we have, and this is just another project that I'm working on currently.
Hmm.
If we have a tile wall, for example, like maybe the tile needs to be flush here
Hmm.
with the and obviously like that wall composite might be more complex. If the drywall and the tile are flush, you probably have multiple layers of drywall. Uh,
Hmm.
but to put a tile wall flush with this, the first thing I would do is just place a wall, like you're saying,
Hmm.
and then make it tile. And it could be a composite if you have a tile with its own backer or mortar bed or something like that. Just it could
Okay.
be a composite or a basic tile wall. I'm gonna make that 1/2 inch thick. Let's bring that to the front. Bring it to front. Oh, why didn't that come to the front? There we go. And then embed it in that wall.
Hmm.
And technically, you should have this on another layer.
Hmm.
And the reason that you have it on another layer is so that you can change this layer group right here. So if that's layer group 2,
Hmm.
for any layer combination. So if I update my floor plan so that tile finish is layer 2, then they're not going to interact with the other walls. So you can see like it's not going to try to intersect that other
Oh,
wall.
yeah.
But you do have to also have a Boolean function. So you do have to go to design solid element operations. And the reason for this is if we look at these two walls together and spin around here, you'll notice that there's like this flicker because those two walls are occupying the same space.
Yeah.
The tile
Yeah.
has to be the operator, the main wall has to be the target, and you have to do a subtraction with no extrusion, and then it
Tile
moves out.
operator. Okay. Wall target. Okay. Okay, cool. That's all I thought, but I just wanted to confirm that. Okay, that's awesome. That's pretty easy.
Yep. Yeah, and that could be for like wainscots, it could be for backsplashes, it could be for any number of different things. It could be
Cool.
slabs, roofs, walls, whatever you need. If you do use beams instead of walls for this, which might be a better solution,
Hmm.
that has the advantage of not necessarily needing an extra layer because beams will not try to intersect with walls automatically.
Mm,
You will
okay.
still need a solid element operation though.
Okay. And then if I do this and I create a new layer for the tile walls that isn't a layer currently in the teamwork file, when I go, I guess what I'm more concerned about is that, or not more concerned about, but concerned about is that in the PLN, I'm concerned about bringing things from the PLN to the teamwork project because I don't want to do all of this work and then have it like not transfer over successfully.
So it
Um,
will add any attributes, and a layer is an attribute, right? The layer combination is a good
okay,
thing, but the layer is an attribute because that layer is attached to the elements that you're copying.
okay,
So it will bring that layer over, but it won't necessarily update your layer combinations. So if your interior elevation layer combination needs to show that layer, you need to actually turn that layer on for that layer combination and update it.
okay,
But it will bring in, if you create surfaces, if you create layers, if you create additional line types, fills, it will bring all of that stuff in with copy and paste.
okay, okay, cool,
Okay.
sweet. And
Uh,
in copy and paste, I should do in plan view.
yes, you have to do that in plan view. You have to copy and paste from plan view to plan view. Any other, so you can't copy and paste from 3D to 3D. If you copy and paste from elevation or section, it actually pastes it as lines and fills. It won't paste the
Right.
2D components.
Okay, yeah, that's happened to me before. Okay. And
Okay. Now to the working in a PLN, you cannot work in the PLN together at the same time. That's
okay.
the limitations of the PLN. You can both work in copies of that PLN as long as you're like kind of working in your own distinct portion of the model, and don't need to see those things combined. Otherwise, you can share your PLN as a teamwork file, and you can both work in that teamwork file together and then copy and paste from that
Mm,
into the main file.
okay.
To
Okay.
share a file as a teamwork file, unless you guys have restricted permissions, you just go to teamwork project and share,
Hmm.
and then load it to the BIM server that you need. Which I actually do have access to your BIM server now. I don't have much access to your BIM server, but it's on here. So you would just load that in here into a project folder, and you can call it whatever you want. You know, you could call it Cole's working file.
Okay. I think just to be safe, I think we do kind of have limited access. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we'll just work in two different files. For I'll do
Yeah.
tile in one, and you can do the other one, the
Yeah, I'm still even
comments
in,
in
it's
the
just the
other.
Fairfield one too. It's not even in the Highland Drive PLN, so it's okay.
Okay, you can't edit walls because they're grayed out. Now, obviously, as a teamwork or as a PLN file, there's no reserve, so that's not the issue. So the
Yeah.
issue could be under the layers. Um,
Okay.
so if I look at the layer count or the layers here, if any of those layers are locked, right, I'll see
Mm-hmm.
that layer is grayed out. I can't edit it.
That's probably it.
So the thing to do there is just to select all layers, lock and unlock, and that'll unlock all your layers. The other
Okay.
thing it could be is under edit, locking, individual components can be locked as well.
Mm, okay.
So if that's the case, then you can go to edit, locking, and unlock all. It'll give you a warning about not being able to undo after you've unlocked all. Just go ahead and say yes.
Mm-hmm.
It'll unlock all. So those are two things
Okay.
that could possibly be locking it out. The other thing it could be is if it's part of a group and your grouping is active, you
Mm-hmm.
can't edit the settings of a group of components. Although here it's letting me, that might be like a 29 thing. But you see, like I've got all of this stuff grouped. I don't know why that stuff is
Mm.
grouped. This is not perfect, but yeah, random stuff got, oh, I actually know why this is grouped. It got copied from another iteration. Anyway, so if stuff is grouped, you can't necessarily edit all of that stuff together because there's multiple types of elements. There's walls, there's slabs, there's objects
Mm.
together. So make sure that you suspend grouping. That's under edit groups, and make sure that the suspend groups is checked.
Okay.
So those
Cool.
are three things that could possibly be locking you out from editing a thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so let's look at the object creation stuff now. So if, for example, I'm just going to take, this is a 3D object. I'm going to take it over here and I'm going to explode it just to get the line work. Okay. So if I have, and to your question about having multiple options, right? So if this is option A and this is option B, let's just say like I have option B as a simplified version of it. So
Mm.
option A, option B are the two options that I want to show. And it could even be like I could have an option C where it's like whatever, a lot bigger or something, or a different shape, or maybe it's something like this.
Mm. That could be like the side view or something. That
Yeah, it could be
could be anything.
whatever features we want to have here, right? So it
Okay.
could be any number of things, however we want to show it. But just for this, just for because the same logic here applies, is that I want option A, option B. I want to make sure that they're saved from the same origin because I want to make sure that when I switch which option it is, it doesn't like shoot way off into space.
Mm.
So one thing that you can do with that is if I zoom way out and find my project origin. Where's my project origins up on this little building somewhere. It's this little X box, that little X right there. Um,
How did you know that? How did
because
you?
if I zoom way out, that
Uh-huh.
X stays the same size, so you can kind of pick it out.
Oh, okay.
So for this, I'm just gonna grab this stuff. I don't need it. Delete that. So that's my 0, 0 origin. You don't
Mm.
have to go from the 0, 0 origin, but you do have to go from a common space. So if you have the 0, 0 origin, it's easier to find. And for some reason, it keeps disappearing here whenever I move. Anyway, that'll get me
How did you do that where you just zoomed to the item you had selected?
Command Shift apostrophe on the Mac. I think it's Control Shift apostrophe on the PC.
Okay.
Um, and
Thank you.
I actually shared a uh, standard keyboard shortcut cheat sheet to one of the HP channels on Slack.
Okay, cool. I'll look at
So
that.
that will include that. I don't know why my origin keeps disappearing here, but normally I would want like that to be like on that origin. I'm not sure. It's disappearing. I
Mhm.
should be able to snap to it, but it's not liking that. Anyway, so this is option one, and I can include lines, fills, whatever I want. Here I'm going to put a fill over it. Whatever I need to include for that object's appearance. And we're just doing 2D stuff here. If I have hotspots and I include hotspots, it will add those hotspots as snap points in the final object. So if I drop hotspots here, 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 and then at the center there, um, right? And I can do the same thing here. I can put that hotspot right there. So I know that that's where the faucet would be if it was on, but it's going to be off. Okay. So from here, the next thing I like to do is grab a screenshot of this. And this is just for functionality of the object. It has nothing to do with how the object works, just for like the thumbnail basically. So I grab a screenshot of that. I'm going to select the objects in plan and go to File, Libraries and Objects, Save Selection as Object. And here, just for keeping this organized, I'm going to say create a new folder, say Working Objects. It's in the embedded library. And I'm going to say Sync Option 1. What I call it doesn't really matter at this point, but I'm going to say Save. These are all of the attributes that are in that object. So like the hotspot attribute, if I know what these pens were used for, I can actually rename those now.
Mm.
Uh, Not essential to anything. It just is important to know that if I want to be able to edit pen 4 separate from pen 1, they have to be different attributes when I save it. Otherwise, it just lumps all of those pens together. So if I'd
Got
set all of the pens to be pen number 2, I would only
it.
see one pen option in all of the object parameters.
Hmm.
I'm going to say change details, and this is where that screenshot comes in handy. I can grab that screenshot, and that's going to be my thumbnail for this object. And we'll say change and OK. The next thing I always do is I place that object right away. Right, so here's that object. Doesn't even matter what the orientation is. I'm going to take this stuff and I'm going to drag this so that it perfectly overlaps with this. So that hotspot there is where that hotspot was. And now if I select this one and say File, Libraries and Objects, Save Selection as Object, call it Sync 2, we'll put it in the Working Objects, say Save. I'm not worried about the thumbnail on this one because I'm literally just going to copy and paste them together. And then I can go back to my object again. It's going to default to whatever the last saved object was, so that's going to save that one. So now I have this object, and I want to combine them into a single parameter. This is the only bit of scripting that we're going to talk about. Up until now, it's just draft it, whatever, copy and paste it in from an AutoCAD file, whatever you need to get the line work, the fills, even if it's 3D geometry. The only thing you don't want to save as an object are doors, windows, objects, lamps, anything that uses another library part. That saves as like a macro. But if it's basic model primitives like walls, beams, slabs, columns, morphs, shells, all of that stuff is good to save as an object as well if you needed a 3D componentry to it. In this case, I just need these two parts and I want them to be part of the same object. So I'm going to go to File. So select them in Plan, go to File, Libraries and Objects, and Open Object. And it's going to warn that I have multiple objects. That's fine. I'm just going to say Open Both. So up here I have tabs. I have Sync 1. This is going to be my sort of master sync. This is going to be the final object. And then Sync 2, I'm using that just to get the script for this 2D component. So this 2D script here that it generated for all the lines and the fills. And you might see, depending on how complex your drafting work is, you might see like thousands of lines of script. If it's a 3D component using morphs, you can see tens of thousands of lines of script. None of that really matters. All I need to do here is select all of this. Usually I exclude the mul and the add commands. So the mul command is what makes it stretchable. If you're combining multiple elements, making them stretchable gets to be a bit of a headache. So usually you would just have like a separate size for each increment size that you need. But here I'm just going to exclude the add and the mul command. The add command is because when you save it in the XYZ plane, let's say I actually did save it from way over here, it tries to shift it all up to the plus plus quadrant, right? Because this is plus plus, this is minus minus, this is plus minus, and this is minus plus. So it wants to put it all into the plus plus quadrant, which is why we have that add command. But I don't need that for the final object. So I'm going to copy this, Command C, and go back into the main object here. I'm going to go to 2D here. I'm going to select the add mul command here, and I'm going to click on this little comment line. And that just basically voids out. It nullifies those commands for this script. And I'm in the 2D script for both of these. So I copied the 2D script from the other one. I'm going to, oops, that's the Zoom link. Copy and paste that into here. And at the end of this, I usually put like a comment line, an exclamation mark, and then just like equals for a divider. But this is not going to, like the thumbnail of this now should show as one object. I'm not going to see the offset. Like if I had undone the add or the mul command, I might see things offset. In this case, because they were overlapped, it's not going to, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now I want to say an if then. This is the only scripting that you're going to have to do. Under the parameter script, you're going to write a parameter called values. And whatever the parameter name or identity is going to be, so we'll say that this is, I'm going to call this just s underscore t, like sync type, and then add a space, and we'll put simple, comma, detailed. Okay. So now I just need a parameter that called st. So if I come in here to the parameters, I'm going to void out all of these parameters because it's not going to be resizable anyway. And I'm going to create a new parameter called s underscore t. And that's going to be a text type parameter. And here you can see that I have simple detailed toggle. So that's the only scripting that you're going to need for this is a values line. The parameter does need to be in quotation marks, and then there's no space or there's no comma. The comma is between the values that you're actually calling associated to that parameter. It's a little unintuitive, but if you have to scrub back through the video to kind of get that step by step,
Yeah.
it should be pretty simple. So now we just need the 2D script to say, have an if-then statement, if st equals simple or if st equals detailed. Okay. And this name right here, that's just how it's going to show in the final object. So we'll call this sync 2D detail level or whatever we want to call it. That doesn't matter. We're not calling anything to that. We just need the st simple and detailed. So in the 2D script, we can add a line at the top that says if s underscore t, and this is not going to be in quotes, which is why the values line is a little bit unintuitive. If st equals, and this is the simplified version, so simple, then all of this, else all of this, and then at the end, we have to have a line that says and if, all one word. Okay. So in terms of like how things are scripted, scripting languages, it doesn't get more basic than this. If st equals simple, and we can double check here, that's simple. I don't even need one that says if it's detailed, because if it's either simple or detailed. You could create one that says off. You could say if it equals simple, then this, else and if it equals detailed, this, and if it doesn't equal either, then nothing. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But you could have as many parameter types as you want. So if you want sync plan 1, sync plan 2, sync plan 3, sync elevation 1, sync elevation 2, you can have all of that stuff combined into one.
Cool.
You just have to keep track of what these values are called. And then using kind of a bit of logic, you could say if it's this, then this. And if you have more than one, you could say and if, else, and if. And then you would say if s underscore t equals detailed, then this, and then else and if, and then you would move on to the next one. Oops.
Okay.
But since I only had two, this is sort of unnecessary, the if it equals detailed then, right? Because it's either this or this. But we can say check script, and let's just double check that script's okay. Here in my little thumbnail, I have that little 2D preview. I can double check that it works. So there's my simple, and there's my detailed. And whatever you have it set here when you save it is going to be the default for that. So I'm going to come up here and say File, Save. I'm going to close out of that tab. Close out of that tab. And then this right here, what is that one? That's sync 2. Did I lose my sync 1? So there's the final sync. So, and I can see here if I switch to simple, there's simple. I have access to all of the attributes. So if I want to change the line pen, right, that'll change that line pen.
Cool. And then can you quickly go over like adding a tag to this? Is it just in the
Adding a tag to this is actually totally separate. So here I can say that this is S-01 or whatever I want to call it.
mm,
That's going to be
mm,
element ID. And
ID?
actually,
Yeah.
when we were meeting yesterday about the same topic, there is a recording that's going to
Mhm.
come from that as well. Again, just way backlogged on that. But whatever
Okay.
element ID I place here, I'm going to say OK. And then under my labels, I'm just going to add a label that has a frame, a basic text auto text label. I'm going to eliminate the leader and let's make the frame on that. I don't know what your graphic standards need to be on this tag.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's like 0.25. And then if I hover over that sync object, it's going to attach a label to that, right? So if the sync moves, the label moves. And then editing that text, that label, I can say I want to use element ID as the text, and it calls that SO1. So
Cool.
if that sync becomes something else, I could say that this is S-5, and it's going to update that text here.
Nice. Cool.
And from what I was looking at with, I forget who I met with yesterday. Um,
Me and Andrew.
Andrew's the one that
Yeah.
had the question on this. Yes, thank you. Um, I'm so bad with names. So Andrew was asking about this yesterday, and we did sort of dig through what's in the plumbing schedule already, and this is the element ID is what's being used to identify that. So
Yeah.
just using the element ID for these things is super simple.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. Does that make sense, Ariana?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm definitely going to go back and watch this video, but
Cool.
And then this should, if you have multiple files open, you should be able to copy this and paste it into another file. Just know that it's going to
okay.
just dump it into the embedded library in this main list. It's just going to add it to this long
Oh, okay.
list of stuff that's already in the embedded library. If it doesn't come in to the embedded library, when you copy and paste, because sometimes it'll come in and it'll show with like a solid circle indicating that
Mhm.
the library part couldn't be found. If that's
Mm,
the case, you can go to the file that you created it from, your PLN, go to the library manager, and you can create, you can basically grab all of the objects that you've created, click save to your desktop, and you can drag and drop those into the teamwork file, or you can go to the teamwork files embedded library and you can add those objects to the embedded library. And that'll allow you to then copy and paste from one file to the other. But
okay.
generally speaking, copying and pasting, just like with attributes, layers, and everything else, it should bring that
Good.
with it. I've seen it kind of hang up on teamwork files before, like if some certain reservations aren't made or if other people have things reserved, but it shouldn't have an issue with it.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So like you answered all my questions. My only question, and maybe you're not, and this doesn't need to be recorded, but I don't understand, like my PLN file isn't showing all of
Okay.
the like plans, or sorry, all of the elevations that I feel like it